Hi, this is Mark Soden. I'm here with Santa Ana Noisefest number 15, and we're talking to George Serra.
Well, my name is George Serra, and I'm currently in the city of Orange. So
How's
I'm up the street from where we'll be performing on December 30th. I moved here about 5 years ago, I would say. So yeah, still kind of new to Orange County, but I was born in Seoul, South Korea, but I grew up in Los Angeles, moved here when I was 6. So
well, what started you down the path to what you are going to be presenting at Santa Ana Noisefest 15?
well, I do lots of different styles of music. But specifically for this performance, it's definitely going to be like very heavy, noisy. I would say in in the '80s, my first band was called Stereotaxic Device, and was definitely an industrial project. I I was just kind of listening to some of those old records that I was listening to, and really wanted to do something that was very like heavy and like distorted rhythms and a lot of found sounds and just almost have like a spontaneous feel to it, even though it's going to be sequenced. So from an audience point of view, it might sound like improvisation, but it's not. But yeah, I would say like a lot of the early stuff that kind of inspired me, like Einstein Neubauten to Throbbing Gristle to the early SBK stuff, the Glenn Branca Symphony, all that stuff that like kind of at one point, when I was just kind of discovered all that by going to clubs and hanging out and going to art events in LA. Yeah, and in the '90s, I had a brief project, a one-off thing called Bleat, and it was very like KK Knoll sounding vibe. And I was working with a label out of DC that was going to put out a CD of mine under the name of Bleat, and the label folded before we actually our record came out. But I did one performance at Das Bunker when they were at Long Beach at the K-Straw, and one of the songs appeared on the Das Bunker compilation. So at least there's like some remnant of that, because I've done stuff from like string quartet to piano concertos. And when I tell people I also did like heavy noise stuff, I'm like, yeah, you check out the Das Bunker compilation, and it's just like, yeah. So, anyways, yeah. So I'm excited to do something. That opportunity came up. I was like, yeah, I want to go, explore that now. Like with all these years have passed. Go back to like that part of creating music where it was sort of like very much the unknown, because you kind of don't know, like when you pick up a guitar you kind of know the chords and stuff, but with noise and ambient sound you have like you're sort of like, well, you can't really predict what it's going to sound like, because there's so much tweaking involved.
Well, how do you prepare for a performance?
Well, I'm only speaking specifically for this, right? Because I do live scores, live performances to silent films, and I have a choir string quartet, so that's, but for this specifically, I'm just taking little bit of time here and there and really delving deep. I've decided to do the whole performance on Logic, and because that's something I use Logic, but I have a ton of outboard synthesizers and gear. And what I've been doing is creating sounds in Logic. Like I was like, wow, I should really take advantage of this, going deep, trying the different plugins and the virtual synths. And they have a huge bank of drum sounds like Lin 9000, TR-606, a lot of this early stuff that I've worked on before. So I'm just manipulating all those sounds and you know, just tweaking them out and stuff. And, so so far it's going really good. Like if I had to do a show tonight, I'd be I felt like I'd be there. But I really want to refine it a bit more. And there's also stuff that I recorded with a microphone, and I'm running that just recording, outside. Um, uh, but when you compress it and you add effects, it sounds like this wall of sound. It's like so. It's just sort of like I'm just kind of going where it takes me. It's unpredictable. But I do have a bit of you know know-how because I kind of know what I'm aiming for. In the sense like I'm not just going into it blind. Like I've done noise stuff before. I've done noise sets. I've done so I know kind of what sort of effects to use and how to use them and stuff. But yeah, so it's going to be interesting.
You mentioned that you're using Logic extensively. Do you have a favorite piece of gear that you will be using for Santa Ana Noise Fest 15 that you would like to introduce or make
Well,
a couple
I
comments
guess,
on?
yeah, I guess the Logic Pro X. I know that people like a lot of people have Logic, but I've up to this point I've pretty much used Logic as more of a recording device, meaning like I use Logic to do vocals, to do string quartets, to record bass, to I have a bunch of keyboards, and I prefer my synth sounds. Maybe I'm just lazy, but I like to swap synths. So I have an SY85 and a JV1080, and but I've used various like Waldorf microwaves and different synth sounds. I'll borrow from friends just to the chord microchord. But with this set, I was like, well, what if I don't use any of what I'm used to using? So I feel like I'm kind of going into this uncharted territory because I'm spending a lot of time just going through all the different sounds and they're seeing if I like it or not, seeing if it sounds good with effects and stuff. So I'm using a lot of the virtual synths that are in Logic that come with Logic. And there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of, oh my gosh. I mean, it's just a ton of stuff. And it's also how you use it because there's a modular synth in there too. And I'm tweaking with that. And you got to, I'm changing all the envelopes and things like that. So you might start with a flute sound and then it sounds like, a polymoog at the end of the day because you're doing so much with it. So yeah, the virtual synths in Logic and the virtual drums, but the drum sounds are Lin 9000. They have a TR 909. They have a TR, and it's pretty close. I mean, it's like wow. And then they have some stuff that I've never heard of, or just I've never like these Casio sounding drum sounds that sound pretty cool with like distortion on it. So using plugins, using virtual synths, kind of yeah, unknown territory. Like yeah.
Do you have any events coming up on the horizon other than Santa Ana Noise Fest 15?
Well, I'm playing. I mentioned earlier I do live. So I've written a score for The Passion of Joan of Arc, the 1928 Carl Dreyer film, and I've been performing that around the country. And it's a string quartet and a four-voice choir, and the choir is very early music, and the strings are like more minimal quartet stuff, and then there's electronic rhythms and underneath it. So I would say it's more like Aphex Twin, um, Dead Can Dance. There's a lot of glitchy beats along with the early music choir and all the choirs in Latin. And so I'm performing that May 30th in Calgary. So that's my next book show. There's some tentative stuff, but nothing's confirmed. So, I don't want to say it and then not happen. But the one that is confirmed is May 30th in Calgary. I'll be performing The Passion of Joan of Arc and it's local musicians. So whenever I'm the only one that travels, so when I go to, I was in Bloomington and Milwaukee and Dallas, I always work with the local musicians. I find them and, do like an online vetting process and all the music has charts. So I send them the charts. So it's, yeah, and there's a few days of rehearsals and then we do it. So yeah, May 30th.
Well,
It's in
that
Calgary.
sounds great. In Calgary. Well,
Yeah.
headed north. I'll
Yeah,
add it to my itinerary.
yeah, I've never been to Calgary, so it'll be fun.
Thank you, George. And thank you for joining us at Santa Ana Noise Fest 15. And we look forward to your performance. Anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I guess, yeah, it starts kind of early, like at 5, right?
At 5.
Right. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know we've done sound people, right? We did sound.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and then the TAM, where you have 10 at the Torrance. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think yeah, cross paths. So yeah, I look forward to seeing your set. I mean, I'll be there obviously to load in prior to 5, but yeah, so it's an early show. So everyone get there early.
We
Yeah.
have we have a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely. So, georgesaramusic.com is my website. Anyone,
Excellent.
yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for your time, and we'll see you at Santa Ana Noise Fest.
All right. Thank you very much.